All right, you want to cover this whole thing about Xbox with the handheld,
Yeah.
or
So
rather, sorry, let me back up. Cover all of the stuff related to this recent interview with Xbox.
sure. Yeah. And let me pull this up because I was able to copy some of the article before the paywall went up on me. So there was an interview that Bloomberg had with Phil Spencer talking about different stuff with Microsoft, especially with Xbox and the game division. And there were several topics that were brought up. One of them being possible acquisitions for the company, moving forward. So similar with Activision. Also talked about the possibility of, or the handheld of Xbox handheld and development on that, and then additionally games being on other platforms. So looking through this here, here's what Phil Spencer said: "We definitely want to be in the market, and this is regarding, the possibility of other acquisitions going down." And he said, we definitely want to be in the market. And when we can find teams and technology and capability that add to that, we're trying to add to what we're trying to do in gaming at Microsoft. Absolutely, we'll keep our heads up. Still, he said there's nothing imminent and very large deals are probably off the table at present as the company is spending a lot of time absorbing Activision Blizzard employees. But he did say that Microsoft is looking at diversifying their teams and looking more at China, especially because the companies over there developed Age of Empires and has also partnered with Tencent, which would be a fit for that type of demographic there. And then regarding with handhelds, he said that there's that making one is an expectation that we would do something. And then he said that the designers and engineers will focus on making the Xbox app work better on existing portable devices and partnering with hardware makers to make sure their products sync with Xbox games and experiences. The Xbox app right now is good rather than great on some of these gadgets, he said. And then he said, longer term, I love us building devices, and I think our team could do some real innovative work, but we want to be informed by learning and what's happening now. And then I think there's one more thing specifically they mentioned, something about the teams. Oh yeah. Whoops, no. Okay, I thought there was something here in the article that said something about like how long they're working on something. I think it said like over a year or two. About like how long they're focusing on working on that, but I'm not seeing anything here. So and then lastly, as far as with trying to get games on possibly other platforms, rather what games would be coming over to them. So when asked about this, I think the ball is moving in the right direction as far as with getting games on other platforms. He said, I think this idea of open platforms where users have more choice, creators have more choice, you see the momentum, right? And then he said that with the Xbox games that have gone over to PlayStation and Switch, he says he's pleased with the results. Microsoft will do more of that, he said, and won't rule out any game in Microsoft's stable. I do not, in quotes, I do not see sort of red lines in our portfolio that say, thou must not. He said it's too early to make any sort of decisions, especially with like the next version of Halo. And then there's one last thing here that I thought was very interesting. Oh yeah, and then, well, this is primarily talking about the growth of mobile games, but I feel like this could possibly apply to other aspects, especially with regards to games going to other platforms. I feel pretty good about where this industry is going. To reach new players, we need to be creative and adaptive of new business models, new devices, new ways of access. We're not going to grow the market with $1,000 consoles. And that is the main gist of everything. So before I get into what I want to say, what are your thoughts on these topics?
Well, let's see here. First of all, regarding the handheld, not surprised. I mean, obviously, we've talked about this a lot previously, and the idea that it's still probably a few years out isn't surprising. Um, I look forward to seeing what they do with it. I probably am not going to be interested in it because currently, I mean, I can play any Xbox game on PC, on Steam Deck. Some of them obviously better than others on Steam Deck. Starfield is just runs poorly across the board, but um, the fact of the matter is that from that standpoint, it probably wouldn't change a whole lot on my perspective. But I am super curious to see what the handheld's going to look like when that happens. But if they're saying a few years out, then, well, a few years out it is. And we'll just wait to see what happens with that. Obviously, it would end up being with the next generation anyway. And then regarding the acquisitions, it's not terribly surprising that they are looking to acquire more companies. It's basically saying that it's probably not going to be anything anywhere near as large as Activision Blizzard was, which isn't surprising at all. And of course, it's even less concerning, I would imagine, for people who are worried about the consolidation, especially PlayStation fans and fanboys. Simply because of the fact that they've also said that no game or game series is off the table from being ported over. And I think obviously that it's a great thing to have more of their games ported over. We'll get into talking about it a little more in a bit after we're done with this topic, but like Indiana Jones, we already got confirmation that's coming in spring to PS5. And I'll just say, without getting too much into it right now, after watching that preview, I'm like, this game actually looks great. I mean, it looks way better than I thought it did before. And visually, I think it's improved as well. But anyway, I think that's really about it as far as my thoughts on that.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely agree that the handheld aspect, we sort of knew that was coming and sort of expecting it. One thing that I'm curious though is because I'm just with regards to getting the Xbox sort of app running on a mobile device. I mean, obviously, I think that's probably the biggest thing to overcome, just to make sure that it's efficient. That it's not taking up a whole lot of resources, but also the fact that it's just an overall enjoyable experience. I mean, I know that I've seen some videos where people have been doing stuff with the ROG allies, and just they want to sort of have that experience that you would normally get on a Steam Deck, but getting that on an actual other piece of hardware. And they've been putting it on other OSs like Bazite OS to sort of like replicate that Steam Deck feel. And one thing that I'm curious about, because now I haven't tampered too much in this, and I might talk about this some more next week, but I bought a Steam machine recently, and this version came out with the Windows version on it. And so one thing that when I was at least plugging it in, I saw was it said to get the, I guess, sort of console-like experience to plug in a controller. And I'm wondering, what's going on here? Because this is Windows 8, but you're saying a console experience. So I'm very curious as to like what that would be like, or what's really going on there to like navigate everything with a controller instead of just using mouse and keyboard. So I'm wondering if there's something there that has already technically existed. I mean, of course, outside of what they have on Xbox, why is there something there that they could use to make that experience better on an Xbox handheld? I'm just like curious, because I mean I feel like Microsoft should be able to take the Xbox experience and put that on a handheld. But I'm just wondering what has been sort of the problem as to why it hasn't happened sooner. Sure, you could say, it's only something they've thought about considering recently, and research and development takes time. But I feel like with their resources, something like this shouldn't be as big of a problem. And that's something that, Phil Spencer just said is something they're trying to work with implementing, with just translating that from a console to a handheld. So I'm wondering what exactly is the underlying root of the problem there. But of course, we'll know more about that later on. Now, as far as games coming over to other devices, that's I think the fact that nothing is sort of like off the table is great. The fact that we could possibly see all these other games come over is great. Now, one thing that I would really love to see, and I feel like Microsoft just forgot all about these games, is if they ported over Rare Replay
Mhm.
to all the other consoles. Like that is probably the one thing on Xbox that I would love to get that will probably never come over, because getting those collections of the older Rare titles, getting the Banjo Kazooies, getting Jet Force Gemini,
Mhm.
getting Perfect Dark and Perfect Dark Zero ported over. If you could get that on, your Switch, if you could get that on PC, that would be amazing. I would love to see that ported over.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably won't for whatever reason, but the fact that, just in general though, no game is restricted, I think that's great, and that's definitely moving forward. And like I said, the thing about what he said about was really applying to the mobile market, but I think it definitely applies to just the entire gaming market in general. You can't have growth if you're only focused on one specific platform. You have to look at where you can apply your products on a global scale. So, I mean, Microsoft already did that with moving games to PC. Now they're thinking, well, hold on now. What's to stop us from putting these games on other consoles? I mean, we can definitely get some money out of that. And, we've also done stuff like with Game Pass and partnering with Amazon so you can stream it from your Alexa devices or whatever. So looking at that aspect, I think it's definitely right. And I don't know if this was a little jab at Sony, but saying you can't have growth by selling $1,000 consoles, as regarding their PS5 Pro, especially with once you get all the add-ons for that,
Yeah.
that's nearly $1,000. So, I mean, so Sony's credit, they are working on that, porting games to PC, possibly porting some stuff to other consoles as well. I mean, Horizon's on uh Lego Horizon is on the Switch, so
Yeah.
they're working on that as well. So I definitely think that's something that these companies are seeing, barring Nintendo, because Nintendo is not porting anything to anywhere. But it's definitely, I definitely agree with him on that. That you definitely need to have growth. Now, lastly, as far as acquisitions go, I don't think they necessarily need to have any more acquisitions. I think they're good for right now. Also, I doubt they'll really do anything either, or at least right now, because they barely skirted by the FTC with Activision. So if they go out again, the FTC is gonna be on top of them,
Yeah.
like 5 minutes, just after hinting that there's an acquisition, they're gonna be on them. So I definitely don't see them having any sort of acquisition anytime soon. But yeah, that's all I've got.
Good stuff.